In this video, we will talk about examples of physical and chemical properties, and we will also classify physical properties as either intensive or extensive. Physical properties, there are two different types, extensive and intensive, and then we'll talk about chemical properties. First of all, extensive properties. These are physical properties that depend on the amount of matter present. So there's usually a number measurement, so mass, length, volume. Intensive property depends on the identity of the substance, not the amount. So these are things such as color, ductility. Ductility is the ability of a metal to be pulled into a wire. Malleability. This is also another metal property. So it's the ability of a metal to be pounded out to a thin sheet or to be pounded to a different shape. Conductivity. So being able to conduct an electrical current. Luster is another metal property, and it just means shiny. And freezing point. It's interesting that freezing point is an intensive property, but it involves a number. And this is because it doesn't matter the size or the quantity of the substance that you're freezing, it will always freeze at the same temperature. And a good example of this, I could have a small cup of water and a large container of water. Which one is going to freeze first if I put them in a freezer? And the answer would be the small one. And that's because it has the ability to reach the freezing point of water, which is 0 degrees Celsius, quicker. As soon as the large container of water reaches 0 degrees Celsius, it will also freeze. And so it doesn't matter the amount of material that's there, it will freeze at the same temperature. So that is why freezing point is an intensive physical property. So let's look at these examples. Go ahead and stop the video and figure out if these physical properties are extensive or intensive. Okay, we're back now. So in the first one, boiling point, this is an intensive property, just like freezing point. The amount does not the amount is not important. Volume, this is an extensive property. So you can have small volumes, large volumes. So that is an extensive physical property. Mass is also extensive. Density, you might think it's extensive, but it is intensive. Remember, density is a ratio, mass over volume. So if I have a larger substance, a larger amount compared to a smaller amount, by the time you figure out the larger volume and the smaller volume and then divide, you're going to end up with the same ratio. So this is an intensive property, and it is a way actually that we can identify unknown substances by looking at their density, because the density doesn't change. And conductivity. So this is an intensive property. It doesn't matter how much copper wire we use inside our home. We can say a longer length versus a smaller length, they will both conduct. So it doesn't matter the amount of the material there. All right, let's look at what chemical properties are. And so let's compare them to physical. So physical properties can be observed without changing the identity of the substance. And chemical properties, it refers to the ability to make or form new substances. So as soon as you have shown or demonstrated the chemical property, you have changed it into something else. So let's look at each of these examples, figure out if they are physical or chemical properties, and go ahead and stop the video and then we'll come back. Okay, we're back now. So number one, melting point. Is this a physical or a chemical property? This is a physical property. When I melt something, I am not changing the identity or the name of the material. For example, I can take an ice cube and I can melt it. And can I freeze it again? Yes, you can. You can freeze it back to that solid water again. So it's just a physical change. It's just a phase change. Flammable. So if I were to demonstrate flammability, I would find that I would change that substance. So this is a chemical property. Density. Density, I can show density without changing the substance that I have. So this is a physical property. Magnetic. also a physical property. Tarnishes in air. So we're going from a metal that's shiny to it's tarnished. So there's a color change there. So demonstrating this would change the substance. So this is a chemical property.